to Montreal Rocks. And today we have somebody who we just featured on our New Music Friday as the band you want to listen to when you're starting a revolution or you're participating in one. And we hope that they start a revolution as well because they have a lot to say. So we have with us in studio Softcult. We have Mercedes and we also have Phoenix.
Hi. Hi. Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure. First of all, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, they're twins. Get over it. Next question. Yes, they're women. Get over it. Next question. Okay, so we got that out of the way. We can now talk about real stuff because we don't have to get into the bog down of that stuff.
Love it.
With two powerful musicians, Mercedes and Phoenix. So Mercedes, let's start with you. You're on guitar and also do vocals, of course. And your name could either mean mercy or pity, or could also be a reward. Which do you identify with more?
Ooh. I guess mercy. You could say mercy and pity are sort of the same thing, but
Yeah.
I like to think of it as, yeah, being compassionate, I guess. And you really did your research there. Not many people just think it's like the car or something most of the time, you know? So
It's a little bit easier with Phoenix because we have that whole, rising from the ashes analogy. And of course, you do drums and also do vocals.
I do.
What is one thing that you've overcome in your life that you're proud of, that you've risen from the ashes of?
Huh. That's a good question actually. Dang. Let me think here.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah. No, I think for a while there, um, my mental health hasn't always been the best. So, especially actually last year at the start of the pandemic when things were getting pretty intense and scary for everyone, I found myself going through a really rough time mentally. But then luckily, I think I pretty much pulled through and used a lot of that time that could have been a really bummer, sad isolation time to focus on music and creating music and learning about recording. And I feel better for it for sure. So I think yeah, I think I'm proud of that. Definitely.
Well, thank you for sharing and for opening up. And I see that you're in your home studio right now. And it's one thing that I know you guys took, or guys, gals, took a lot of time during the pandemic to just, get down and write. You guys, you do everything. You do the, you do the music, you do the visuals, you do the graphics, you do the video. You almost basically take care of every aspect of this band. So we're going to dive into that. Before we get there, I like to start a little bit back at the beginning. So I want to maybe bring you back to a time where you're both little girls. You're in your parents' house or maybe in the car. You're most likely surrounded by music. We're most likely exposed by the music that our parents listen to. But at a certain point in our life, there comes this music that starts speaking to us directly, and it becomes our music. Was there a song or a band that really flipped the switch for you, where music went from something you heard to something you felt?
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely. One that sticks out in my mind is the band Death Cab for Cutie,
Okay.
which we've loved since we were kids for sure. That Plans album, we were listening to when we were maybe 11 or 10 even, like just really into that album. And I love Ben Gibbard's lyrics and musicianship because now he does the guitars and everything for that band too. And yeah, just his lyrics are really personal and relatable, but he also uses a lot of analogies and storytelling through imagery and stuff like that. So I really love that in lyrics. And then musically, especially on guitar, it's just so emotional and has so many dynamics and stuff. So I would say, like, to this day, there's still such a huge influence for us. And yeah, we found them pretty early. Like we were pretty young when we discovered them. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd probably have to say the same. Yeah, Death Cab for Cutie. I remember also listening to so much Alexis on
Oh,
Fire,
yeah.
a Canadian band back in the day, and
Of course, Dallas Green.
yeah,
Yeah,
of
well,
course, yeah, you know.
yeah.
And Jordan Hastings, I think he's still probably one of my favorite drummers ever. Just his parts are so creative and the way he plays is so cool. So that definitely is inspiring. And I remember like we would literally be in the car practicing harmonies to Crisis. We'd be listening to that album and just like practicing, singing along with Dallas, trying to sing along with Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to annoy our dads so much because he would drive us to our studio sessions and stuff before we could really drive and everything. And then we would just be like harmonizing with everything. It's like, why can't you just listen to this?
Yeah.
Not that I don't think he ever really cared, but he was always kind of the MVP taking us to and from those types of places.
And of course, your first band was Courage My Love.
Mhm.
And I'm sure you've learned a lot from that experience, but correct me if I'm wrong, but in the beginning, you kind of changed your music to fit kind of this industry mold. But now you kind of resisted that and you're finding your own voice. What gave you the power to say, no, we're going to do what we want to do?
Really good question. Yeah, the backstory behind all of that and kind of the reason why that band ended was because we were grinding away on that band for 10 years. So we started it as teenagers, like barely teenagers at the time. And then we were touring and we were really lucky. Like we got some major labels interested in us early on. And our first release was through a major label and stuff. So it was really exciting. But then the longer we were in it and the more we wanted to try and maybe push our own boundaries or just try and do weirder, more alternative music that we really liked, there was a lot of clashing on the creative side with our label. And so for a while there, we kind of were forced to create music that was within this mold that works on Canadian radio, basically. Because otherwise, we would send like a bunch of demos, and the email responses would just be kind of like, I don't know, I don't think this is the one. And so we'd spend like a year or so just grinding away in the studio and get a lot of rejection type thing. Then we were like, okay, well, just to be able to release anything at all, we kind of have to give them what they want. And that's what it felt like, like we were just kind of writing and trying to guess what they wanted instead of doing what we wanted to do. So I think that whole experience was rough on us and we just never wanted to kind of get in that situation again. So with Softcult, since like you said before, like we do a lot of the creative stuff from visuals to recording at home, all of that stuff. It really was our chance to just do whatever we want and, have it be our voice. And I think it paid off because I feel a lot more connected to it personally.
And I mean, when we say voice, it could also mean visuals, right? Because it's just about your sound and who you are as people. I find that really interesting. You also dabbled a little bit in movies. And what I found truly interesting is that your IMDb kind of mirror each other.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, there was the doppelhanger short that is, you guys look pretty young in there.
Yeah, so that's funny actually. Like we did do some acting as kids mostly.
Yeah.
Like into I guess like early teens.
The screenshots like haunt us to this day.
They're still
active on the internet.
They're floating around the internet, and it's pretty terrifying to be honest. No, but they
mortifying.
Yeah, they but no, it's funny because kind of like our music career, our like acting career also, we pretty much did everything together. Like we would do auditions for either the same role or like a twin role. And kind of the same with our music. Like we haven't really been in a musical project
without each other.
Yeah, we've always just been doing stuff together like that.
So it's not surprising that it would, like, I think in terms of our professional career in anything, we've always kind of been doing things together.
Mhm.
So kind of those stereotypical twins that just are always by each other's
Yeah.
side.
But I guess there's also a trust of being vulnerable with someone that you're so close to. You can open up, and there's going to be the fights just like any. I'm completely the opposite because I'm an only child, so I have no clue what it
Aw.
feels like to even have a brother or sister, let alone a twin. But I'm sure that there's some trust there, and there's got to be some fights and all those things. But over the years, you learned how to navigate those waters, and then you get to be close. So, like I have a feeling you guys are close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, for sure. We do. I mean, yeah, like we do fight and butt heads, but it doesn't last very long. We're
And it's never over anything serious. It's like if we're writing a song and one person thinks that it should go one way and the other person thinks it should go the other way, but we always resolve it and work it out. And yeah, we don't really fight over anything
major.
serious.
Yeah.
And I guess it's par for the course when your professional partner is also a family member. Like you're just so much closer already, and you have like less of a filter, I guess,
Yeah.
around each other. So when it comes to songwriting, I do feel bless you.
Ooh.
I do feel so much closer to Phoenix, and I can be more vulnerable with lyrics and stuff like that. We can talk about things like Phoenix knows, kind of the ghosts of my past and stuff like other people wouldn't know, and it helps because I just feel like we can be like really honest with each other if we're vibing an idea or if we're not vibing an idea. There's no like ego involved or anything like that. So yeah.
Well, what I like about the music that you do, and I really enjoyed the sound. I mean, it's right on my wheelhouse. It's like taking this nostalgia from all the stuff I used to listen to, the shoegaze movement and some of the goth stuff, and you kind of put it into your own sound. And I could tell right away, like the first song I heard is like, oh, it just stood out right away. Like it felt authentic. It sounded really good.
Yeah.
Uh, and and you guys are not shy about getting into things like talking about topics that are um, maybe a little dark for some, but also that, to me, when you talk about dark topics, you're bringing light to it. So you're also bringing hope or allowing people to feel a camaraderie with you, find some sort of bond with your audience. Uh, is that is that what you try to do with the writing process?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, you said it. Like, there's a lot of things that maybe uh, people try to stay away from when they write lyrics or topics, I guess, that maybe it's like taboo. But I feel like writing about that stuff, it's kind of like once you, like, if we would have heard maybe those kind of topics in a song when we were younger, it would have meant a lot and gone a long way. So I think being able to write about that stuff and then like hopefully find people that when they hear they can relate and it really hits home. I think that's pretty much what it's all about.
In particular, like lately, we've been focusing on gender violence issues and abusive relationships and stuff like that. And so it's like Phoenix said, like if we kind of raise awareness on these things, even just of red flags to look out for, then hopefully the goal is that whoever's listening to it will have these tools that, I think our generation kind of wished that we had, and we had to figure it out the hard way. But now we live in a society where things are so much more open, and you can talk about these things. And so yeah, that's kind of our goal, is to raise awareness and empower people from the start.
Okay, you raised an interesting point here, and it kind of goes into something I wanted to talk about. Is back in the day, it was Kathleen Hanna who invited girls to the front. Now that was a beautiful thing. Was a voice of change. It empowered them to participate in the music, not just be bystanders at the back. Uh, what do you think should be done today to make gigs safer for all people?
Man. Yeah, that's the question. That's honestly the question that it's like hard to figure out because now I think like when we think about feminism, uh, to us, it's not something that it's just for women. It's for everyone. Like everyone can be a feminist. Everyone should be a feminist.
And I think an important point with that is it if we kind of exclude, men from feminism, then the same issues will just keep popping up over and over again, and it won't go anywhere. So it needs to be an inclusive scene for sure.
Mm.
And how to make it more safe, I think making it a scene that's educated so that we can look out for each other. So right now in the UK, for example, there's a big problem with spiking drinks, and like that sort of the date rape scene is kind of rising up again. So even just making people aware and sort of having this buddy system, like at our shows, for example, we're going to do everything we can to make sure they're safe shows. If we see any sketchy stuff go down, we're just going to stop the show, call it out. It's going to be a zero tolerance policy for anything like that. And I think it's good. The more bands that can do that and kind of make that the precedent for their shows and not be afraid to call it out, then the scene will inherently be safer.
Even like in the wake of the Astro World thing that happened, where people died, it's kind of like I think people need to be more okay with like stopping shows if it gets out of hand, if it gets violent, if things start going crazy, and you see people getting pushed around or having a rough time. You need to stop. You can't just I don't know. You can't just kind of like, oh, whatever.
It set the bad example of
Yeah.
going on with the show, and it probably cost the lives of more people.
Yeah.
For real. Yeah, definitely.
Fortunately. So a lot of work to do, but hopefully things will get better. Let's talk a little bit about the new stuff. Some of the songs that came out. I think it's hilarious that you guys got stopped by the police a little bit while you're doing one of your latest videos. I hope nobody got arrested. I mean,
No.
it was a little, probably scary imagery for a cop to see you guys.
It wasn't exactly surprising, I guess. Like, we're wearing masks and they have like weapons. They weren't real weapons. They just looked real. But yeah, I think we know exactly what happened there. That we were filming just on a street, and then there was a car that was driving down the street, and they stopped and then reversed really fast and pulled away down another street. And then like 10 minutes later, the cops showed up. So I think it was like someone called in and concerned that there was like some gang stuff happening.
let's go a few of the last ones. Spit It Out, which is interesting because it's about rejecting harmful ideologies. What's the biggest lie in the music industry today that needs to be spat out?
Dang. From personal experience, I guess I would say that being like a woman in the industry, there was always a lot of pressure of like, oh, you have to like kind of just trust like this circle and not trust like if a band wants to take you on tour, they're kind of planting these seeds of like, oh, they just want to work with you because they want to sleep with you. And while it's important to be aware of that, I think you need to own your talent sometimes and not just write everything off as like, oh, it's because I'm female and they probably are attracted to me or something like that. It just minimizes like who you are and what you do. And while it's a fact that you're gonna have to prove yourself, and that's the best way to kind of shut down the haters, you know what I mean? I think it's important not to focus so hard on your outward appearance, and it's like just let the music do the talking. Don't worry about all of that stuff,
Yeah, I'd say probably that, and I think a lot of people, it's starting to change now, but I think a lot of people in the past have felt like they couldn't speak up about certain things for fear of getting like blacklisted, or having labels kind of get in the way of things, or management and stuff. Like the roots go so deep, like in any industry. You're always scared to piss off the people at the top, because you don't want them to get in the way of your future. But I guess it's like, I don't know. I think that needs to change for people.
You have a platform that you
Yeah.
can use for good, so you should use
I
it.
think there was this whole level of secrecy, you know, the boys club secrecy that when those floodgates erupted, it just was insane. All the stuff that people were, they knew about, so they're complicit in it. If you know about something and you don't speak up, you are complicit. You have to speak up. I think it's important to protect everyone, especially those that are young, those that are vulnerable, those that are easily hurt. They need to be protected. So if you see
Definitely.
something, say something, right?
And
Yeah.
promoters too, or like people booking festivals and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, maybe the headliner, you book them because they can draw like a ton of people. But if you know that by having them in that atmosphere, you might be putting some fans at risk because of something they did in their past, it's like on you as well to just not support that kind of artist and find another headliner.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that gets kind of like buried because, someone's
convenient.
It's convenient and someone's making money for someone, so they're like, well, we don't want to stop this train. But yeah.
And you can't use the excuse boys will be boys, because
Yeah.
that no longer flies.
Off the table.
Next song, Perfect Blue, your latest release, which is probably the one I like the most out of the songs I've heard so far. It's a slower vibe. It's really allows you guys to shine. Musically, it's got a lot of atmosphere, textures. In the song, what I found was interesting was a person is so changed that they're kind of unrecognizable except for the blue eyes, right?
Yeah.
What is one of your strongest characteristics that is completely you,
Ooh.
like those blue eyes?
That's a good question.
Good question.
What do you think?
It's probably easier if I say what I think Phoenix is I guess, because I'm not good at like analyzing myself that way. But I think Phoenix is and has always been so fiercely loyal. So if you're one of their friends, they will fight for you to the death, and they will basically just stand by you, stand up for you, and you find like this strength for other people that you don't even give to yourself all the time. So I'd say that that's never changed. Like since we were little toddlers, it's always been that way. So that's why it's great to have Fiend as my twin.
And vice versa.
Yeah. Oh no, I would literally say the same about you. Like, yeah, I don't know, being like growing up like queer and stuff obviously had some weird, comments and like things thrown at me, and then I've always had my sister to have my back, so never really felt like I was going through the world alone, which I think that's the beauty of being a twin. But also some twins aren't that way with each other, so maybe I'm just super lucky that way. But yeah.
Back to the video, I noticed that the scars were underneath that skin, that outer skin. Do you sometimes find that people create this hardened shell to protect their wounds, but yet, like, unless those wounds are exposed, they'll never fully heal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a trauma thing, and that's what makes it so sad is someone who has been traumatized will tend to hide that stuff and then repress it, but it always comes out eventually. So it's like the sooner you can process it and deal with it and get it out of your life, the sooner you can move on. But unfortunately, that's not usually what happens. It usually takes a while to process these things, and then it's kind of working away under the surface while you're kind of pretending everything's fine, right? So you caught on to that analogy. That's awesome that you saw that and noticed that.
That was the first thing I noticed. I thought what I find interesting too is when it comes to trauma, a lot of times trauma will affect the decisions we make. So we kind of become part of our past self. Like something happened to us and we'll take sometimes bad decisions based on those effects of that trauma. And sometimes when you shine a light on it, you can reframe the trauma and maybe find out what did you learn from it, or how it might have made you a better person, maybe more empathetic, uh, or like your name suggests. And when you do that, you kind of reframe it. It kind of takes away its power, and then you can kind of focus on your future self, on who you want to become, and try to find those qualities, and embrace those qualities, and kind of leave off the effects of past one.
Yeah, that's
a
very
great
true.
point.
Yeah.
That's a way to make it mean something that's positive and not just have a negative impact. And it's a good way, I think, of processing it, because a lot of the time, like you said, these patterns will just keep continuing. So it's like, let's say you had a bad relationship, and then your next relationship, you end up finding someone that has the same qualities as that bad relationship, because it's like you're trying to resolve it with a different outcome, I guess, like the same situation with a different outcome. And then that's how people can get stuck in this pattern that just continues and continues and continues. So it's good to find the silver lining, I guess, of what came out of it and maybe made you stronger in some ways, you know.
So the new EP is You're the Snake, following You're the Rat. Look forward to that. You could find it pretty much. Is it? I should have known this before, but it's coming out when?
February 4th. So it's coming out pretty soon, yeah.
Two last things. One, I want to know, goofy question, but do you know what Baroque is yet?
Oh
Yes.
my god.
You saw the TikTok? Yeah, okay, the Baroque period is not the same as going broke,
Yeah.
which I learned, but yeah, the Baroque
You
period.
learned in front of all your classmates in school, so that was kind of fun.
You know, kind of outed ourselves in front of everybody.
It's funny because, like, I think people thought that you were just being like a class clown and joking around, but you truthfully
I
did
was
not
earnest
know.
and
yeah, you didn't know anything.
enthusiastic.
Now, being an artist sometimes is being a Baroque.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's really tough these days, but it shows that you just love the craft, and we definitely can see the labor of love in all that you're doing. It's really something it could show. It shows in the music. I want to end with something that I call fantasy rock band.
Okay.
So I'm not a sports guy. I'm a music guy. So you've probably heard about these fantasy sports things. You got to build this fantasy team. I want you guys to build. Pardon me if I keep saying guys, but you know what I mean.
It's like neutral, so
I want you to build the ultimate fantasy rock band, like a singer, guitarist, bassist, and drummer. Any other musical instrument you want, if you wish.
That's gonna be tough. That's cool. Okay, we should probably go back and forth and just add members.
You can start with the drums.
Yeah, I was gonna say drums. I already know. Obviously has to be Dave Grohl on drums. Like,
Ooh.
come on, yeah.
Okay, you guys were born the year that Kurt died, so there's a link there.
Yeah, there is. It's so weird to feel a connection to something that like was before you were born, but yeah, there is such a connection there for some reason.
Yeah. Okay, Dave Grohl on drums.
Dave Grohl. Okay, vocals, let's say Bjork. Ooh. Let's put Bjork on those vocals.
Nice. Okay. Dang. We need two guitars because
two guitars.
Yeah. I would say Kevin Shields probably. Ooh. On guitar one. Yeah.
Okay, so Kevin Shields, My Bloody Valentine. And I'm blanking right now on the Radiohead guitarist, what his name is.
Oh dang. What's his name?
He's like such an important part of the band. I'll look it up.
I'll look it up right now. Yeah.
That's who I choose though.
Radiohead guitarist.
There's two of them, but there's one in particular. Not that I don't love both of them, but I would choose Johnny Greenwood.
Okay.
The Radiohead guitarist.
Look up Death Cab for Cutie's bass player.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. See, this is stacking up to be a pretty sick band.
I really want to see this band.
Yeah, right?
You're touching on
Nick Hammer.
Nick Hammer. Harmer.
Nick Harmer. Sorry, Nick Harmer on bass.
Sorry, yeah. It's the bass player curse. It's like we really value the dope bass player, but we don't know the name. but now we do.
Yeah.
Nick Harmer, remember that name.
Yeah. Basically, this is my way of finding out who are the bands that influence you over the years, without asking the boring question. So we can kind of see that you've had some little bit of emo punk stuff going down. You've got Bjork, which is a little bit out there, which I love. I mean, talk about somebody who has no fear to do what they feel like doing and somehow breaks through and gets a fan base too. So that's the lesson right there. And of course, Dave Grohl is a lovable figure and a talented musician. And I would definitely go see this band. So
yeah, right. I think that'd be kind of cool. It'd be everything
Let's
we
make
like.
a petition to make it happen.
Yeah.
They're all still active. They're all still alive. Let's do it now.
well, thank you so much, Mercedes and Phoenix. We look forward to some new music coming soon, and of course the album for the EP coming out in February. So make sure to pre-save that in Spotify. We'll put all the links in the show notes. Thanks so much for talking to us today. We really hope that you continue what you're doing, and I'm sure you'll do great.
Oh,
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was really fun to talk. So thank you.